How would you describe yourself? Do you tend to talk about yourself positively or negatively? Take a moment to answer this while listening to our speaker, Ms. Vicki Cabrera, as she shares tips on how to change your self-critical talk to become more positive and confident. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell to get updates on our latest content.
I'm going to teach you a skill that also helps with self-compassion and is another way to help you build more self-confidence. And that is to change your critical self-talk. So I have another question for you. When you talk to yourself, how do you describe yourself? Do you make statements about yourself that are positive or negative? Do you talk to yourself like a friend or like your own worst critic? The way that we talk to ourselves, especially about who we are, this is very important because it can really impact our confidence in a positive way or a negative way. And the problem is that we can oftentimes have a tendency to be very self-critical, very hard on ourselves. But the problem with this is that this kind of negative self-talk is discouraging. And the more that you do it, the more it will negatively impact your confidence. But the good news is that this is a habit that is possible to break, and it is possible to change your negative self-talk to be more positive. The goal is to change the negative statements you make about yourself in your head. Negative self-statements are statements you make about yourself that basically assume that you don't believe in yourself or your abilities. So for example, statements like, I'm not smart or I'm no good. These are examples of negative self-statements. You need to transform your negative self-statements into more positive self-statements. These are statements about yourself that focus on your positive qualities. It's basically describing yourself in a way that believes in yourself and in your abilities. So for example, saying that I have a lot to offer or that I'm a good learner, these are examples of positive self-statements. Now, this transforming of your negative self-statements to positive self-statements, this is actually a technique or a skill called verbal self-guidance. And there have actually been a number of research studies that have found that when job seekers use this technique, their confidence in their ability to get a job really improves. There are just basically kind of 2 steps to practicing this skill. So first is to identify what are the negative self-statements that you are making of yourself. The goal is to become aware of your tendency to use negative self-statements, especially when it comes to your job search. These statements tend to be automatic. Just paying attention to when they come up is really important. And they also tend to be situation specific. So it can also be helpful to think about self-statements come up in each part of the job search process, such as applications or during interviews. Or do they tend to come up when you are experiencing a challenge or a setback? Because that's very common. So once you've identified your negative self-statements, the idea is that you pause and that you actually try to replace that statement with a positive self-statement. This positive self-statement, again, is a statement that you make about yourself that focuses on your positive qualities when it comes to your job search. Here's just an example. So one example of a negative statement that might come up in your job search is this: I can't find a job no matter how hard I try. All the job postings I applied for just did not work for me. So that's an example of a negative statement. But an example of a positive self-statement would be, because of my past experiences, I know what I am capable of doing, and I am very determined to get what I want. And this will help me find a job. I think this may give you a good sense of what a negative self-statement might be or a positive self-statement might be when it comes to your job search. And you can notice the difference between the two. The first negative statement, it basically assumes no belief in your abilities, while the positive self-statement focuses on your positive qualities and makes the assumption that you have the abilities that you need to go through the job search. So, this technique of verbal self-guidance, this is a new skill which takes some practice, but I really encourage you to try it. It may be challenging at first, but over time, it will become more automatic. Well, the idea is that over time, your self-statements about yourself ideally will become more positive than negative. And doing this will help tremendously in boosting your confidence. So that's our second skill, which is to change critical self-talk.
Hi there! Did you like this video? Follow for more tips.